The will they or won't they saga regarding some of the brightest talent to come out of the Hale End at Arsenal appears to be drawing to a close, and I say a positive close as well. I'll tell you exactly what's been going on over the last 24 hours or so, because Richard Garlick, the CEO, I think he is, of Arsenal Football Club, has been speaking to Dan Rowan. There's been an important tweet by Sami Mokbel from the BBC as well in relation to that man on screen, Ethan Nwaneri. And I am quietly confident now that both of these players, Miles as well, Lewis Skelly, have a future in North London. It would be an absolute travesty, I believe, if we lost either of them. Of course, if I had to keep one, I would prioritise Miles Lewis Skelly over Ethan. That's purely because of the impact he's currently having on the first team. But I have been massively impressed by this young man over the last few weeks in pre-season. In each of the games that he's played, I think he looks, you know, pretty sharp, really good. He scored an important goal against Borussia Dortmund and from the penalty spot as well. And you can clearly see that the Arsenal fans absolutely love him. So to think that at 19 years old, Arsenal don't think that he's got a path to the first team, I think is simply ludicrous, in all honesty. The loan deal didn't work for him last season at Marseille. I credit him from taking himself to another country where he wouldn't have spoken the language, you know, and try and apply himself to a completely different league. It went wrong for him as well, given that De Zerbi left within weeks of taking him. Arsenal earmarked Ethan going to Marseille because of the fact that privately Arsenal really rated De Zerbi as a manager. Ironically, now he is Tottenham manager. And of course, Mikel Arteta spoke during pre-season about the fact that he's been very impressed by Ethan Nwaneri. That's been shown in the games that he's played. And of course, the fact that over time, Ethan will have realised that he's learned something from that negative experience over in France. Watching the volume of content that I do, talking backwards and forwards with Arsenal fans across social media. I love it when you guys reach out to me as well. I haven't really come across someone who says, sell Ethan, you know, get rid of him. The 35 million that is reportedly have been asked for him, with Leipzig and AC Milan interested in paying that, would have had a buyback clause for Arsenal at £50 million. And I just think there's better options. I really do. And of course, this is what Dan Rowan got out of Richard Garlick, amongst other things, talking about the Arteta contract as well. I'll summarise that at the end. But basically, Richard said, we're not looking at selling those homegrown players, but if the right opportunity came up and it was right for them and for the club, we would consider that. I don't like the ending of that, in all honesty, which had me concerned, given that 7 days ago, Arsenal went into meltdown when it was reported that we were looking at a £75 million sale of Miles Lewis Skelly to rivals within the Premier League. Reported interest from both Manchester United, that's been long-term in all honesty, and Chelsea. And that was off the back of Arsenal signing Bruno Guimaraes. And of course, Miles Lewis Skelly has looked like a completely different player over the last few months or so in an Arsenal shirt since he came into midfield in that game against Fulham. And you look at the important games that Arteta has trusted him in. And of course, I absolutely get it when it comes to football is not just a game of football and the emotion has to be taken out. It has to be a business as well. But look, we've never been the greatest selling club. And if we're looking at selling our best players that are young, you know, and hungry and love the club, then I think fundamentally as a club, we're doing something wrong. And I also think the fans would let the club know about that as well. These are the stats from Lewis Skelly over the last season and into the Community Shield. He's had a really good, last few months. No one can deny that. And of course, Mikel Arteta has got a really difficult decision, as of course, when Declan Rice regains full fitness. What role does Miles Lewis Skelly play? I think he'll play more minutes than he did last season. But of course, he's going to want to be playing week in, week out, and it's on Arsenal to make sure he's getting as many minutes as possible. Sami Mokbel then dropped this yesterday, an exclusive, saying Arsenal decided to prioritise the loan offers for Ethan Nwaneri ahead of transfer deadline. Acknowledgement teenager can leave to play regular football but want to avoid losing the 19-year-old permanently. I really trust Sami Mokbel, in honesty, and that was relief when I saw that drop on X in relation to Ethan Nwaneri, and that takes me to what you see on screen right there at the moment. There are genuine interest from clubs right across the Premier League for the young England internationals services, from the likes of Everton, Fulham and Aston Villa, who of course we have negotiated a £51 million fee for Ezri Konsa. Go find that video over on my channel at the moment. All of those clubs make sense to me. There are others that I think Arsenal should try and see if clubs have an interest in, the likes of Crystal Palace, the likes of Bournemouth, Brighton. I think all of those clubs may have an interest in the services of the player. I don't want it to be with an obligation or even an option to buy. I want it to be for a straight loan deal. And of course, that for Ethan should give him an opportunity to go and play as close to week in, week out as possible. Get himself on the ball. We've seen the benefits of that from a William Saliba loan deals that he's had, 2 or 3 loan deals to the likes of Saint-Etienne and whatever else over his time before he was fully ready to establish himself in the first team. And there was a lot of noise around that. I remember saying, you know, to Arsenal fans that, you know, Saliba's camp are saying play him or sell him, you know, and maybe Ethan is of the same opinion. There are rumours that his brother, who is another hot prospect in the Hale End, will also look to leave the club this summer because of the fact that he doesn't feel he's got a clear pathway to the first team. I think with a loan, Arsenal are saying to Ethan, you've got the opportunity to make it in the first team. It might still be another couple of years, but go out now. The onus is on you. Go and play Premier League football and make a difference for one of these clubs. Take the ball by the horns, become a creative force in the Premier League, add goals to your game as well. And most importantly, go and get some really important minutes under your belt. And I'm sure the likes of Mikel Arteta will be watching. And I'm sure the final club that he does go to will be handpicked with the assumption that he's going to get some important Premier League minutes. Obviously, it's on him. If he doesn't perform in those games, then of course he's not going to get minutes. The one, if I was to pick any of those, would be Fulham. It keeps him in London. I think that's really important. Arsenal have got a good relationship with Fulham when it comes to player trading in the past. The likes of Emil Smith-Rowe, the likes of Bernd Leno, you know, Iwobi and stuff like that. Some of those players coming through the Hale End, they understand what it means as well. Both Iwobi and Smith-Rowe are still known to be Arsenal fans. So I think Fulham makes the most sense. Add to that Arteta knows Arbeloa quite well as well. And I just think that one marries up. I'm happy for Arsenal to not even receive a loan fee for the player if it means keeping him at the club. And of course, guys, let me know your opinions around this deal as well. Are you happy that Ethan Nwaneri is going to be staying at the club, or so it seems now? If we see the Sami Mokbel tweet and whatever else, what do you read into what Richard Garlick's been saying? I understand from a business perspective that every player has their price, but I also take a lot of heart from him saying the club don't want to sell their brightest talent. That long term is how you make a lot of money, by saving on having to buy players for huge sums of money. If Arsenal could get Ethan Nwaneri towards the talents of the likes of a Morgan Rogers, then this kid could be worth hundreds of millions over the next 5 to 10 years. You just don't know. And of course, a lot of that is on him as well. And he seems like a well-balanced kid. As I said, pre-season I felt has been very strong for him. And you could see the disappointment in his face being left out of the Community Shield. Now, of course, Arteta has a decision to make with that. He's trying to get minutes into the legs of the players. But let's now turn our attention to him going out on loan before the window shuts. And of course, Arsenal appearing to lock down Miles Lewis-Skelly to the club for the long term. This one, as I said, would have upset the Arsenal fan base, that's for sure. And I don't think that Richard Garlick was necessarily talking about Miles Lewis-Skelly in relation to future talents. Of course, there would be a lot of interest in him, as there is with Ethan. There would be the same with Max Dowman. There'd probably be the same with Marley Salmon as well. Arsenal in a really gifted position right now when it comes to the quality of the youth players coming through the ranks and those that are privileged enough and good enough to be training with the first team. Look, I think Myles Lewis-Skelly will be in for a huge season at the club, in all honesty. I think that he'll very much go under the wing of Declan Rice, and I think he'll be given a lot of opportunity to play over the next 9 months or so. And when you look at his performance in the Community Shield against Manchester City in what some people class as a glorified friendly, if Arsenal are seriously considering selling him for 75 million, then I'd ask him to go back and look at what Manchester City paid Nottingham Forest for Elliot Anderson, 116 million. Now, Myles Lewis-Skelly didn't make the World Cup, but has played in important games over the last few months, none bigger than club football for the Champions League final against Paris Saint-Germain, where he excelled in the centre of midfield, in my opinion. We've seen right through pre-season, he has been one of the standouts, along with the likes of Zolis and Salmon, in this overall Arsenal pre-season. I think he's been exceptional as well, and fully deserved to start in the Community Shield, where he took it up another notch. Not only was he very good on the ball, of course, that exquisite through ball in the first 20 odd seconds for Calafiori, who heaped a whole lot of praise on the young England international. And of course, I want to see players that are progressive with the ball, that know what it means to wear the badge. So this is where, for me, the sentiment comes in to wanting to see him stay. I'll clarify that further by saying I wasn't disappointed when we let Emil Smith-Rowe go, or Eddie Nketiah. They had been given opportunities, Alex Iwobi as well, and it just hadn't worked out for them long term, and it made sense to move them on. You can say the same about Jack Wilshere, one of my favourite players over the last 10 years. You know, loved playing football for the club. On his day was just an exceptional talent. This is what reminds me of Myles Lewis-Skelly, but his journey's not done, and 75 million is just not worth it, in my opinion. Just not worth it. Not when the market's so difficult as well, and Arsenal clearly have got funds available to spend. So it looks like they're both going to stay in different ways, but all of that is a positive right about now for me as an Arsenal fan. What do you guys think? You know, would you take 75 million for Myles Lewis-Skelly? I'd love an Arsenal fan to come in and tell me that. Would you sell Ethan Nwaneri? Do you think he's got a path to the first team? I genuinely think he does. I think over the next 12 months, there's players like Noni Madueke, I think, may become available for the club. Still not convinced. Yes, Max Dowman's emerging and probably ahead of Ethan Nwaneri at the moment. But there are spaces that may appear within this Arsenal team that mean he starts to get himself an opportunity to play for the red and white. Guys, if you haven't done so already, this is a brand new channel on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribing to the Highbury Lounge. The road to our first 1000k is well and truly underway. Some of you follow me over on TikTok already and Instagram. There's 62,000 of you on TikTok. So make sure you're dropping a like on this video for me. It really does help. And of course, engage in the content. I want your opinions, even if it's just a sentence below, on where we are at right now with these Highlanders. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the